Guys, today we are going to start the 1-point perspective city project. I went ahead and I put these in a PowerPoint that I usually show kids at the beginning of the year because I really liked these examples. So let me see if I can go ahead and make these bigger for you with the present mode. There we go. So we are making a city in perspective as if you were laying on a park bench looking directly up at the sky and there were buildings all around you. We're going to be using one vanishing point because there's one vanishing point, which is a dot in 1-point perspective. So I liked these because you get to do something creative with the sky. You're going to either make something falling from the sky, something going across the sky, something interesting happening. So this person drew a plane that was kind of coming in and maybe just going down and landing, hopefully not crashing. The one on the right side, they did letters in perspective swirling around in a really colorful, kind of ominous sky. So let's go ahead and let's start the building part today. Let me go ahead and see if I can exit. Oops, there's the Noton project. Let me move this. There we go. All right, so we're going to go to our document camera here. I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger. You're going to need today a ruler, a 12-inch ruler, a pencil, and I would have a spare eraser. If you don't have a spare eraser, that's okay, but it makes life a lot easier. So when I draw today, I'm going to draw very lightly, and the reason is because there's going to be some erasing that will happen. Because I'm on a document camera, I'm going to have to draw a little darker just so you can see it, but you as the artist need to be drawing light. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a vanishing point. A vanishing point is the dot used in 1-point perspective, or there's also 2-point perspective or 3-point perspective. I'm not going to put the dot in the very middle. I'm either going to put it a little to the left or a little to the right. This will get erased at the very end. All right, now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw lines directly out from that dot, that vanishing point, that go all the way around. And think of this as sort of like a clock, the hands of a clock. So when I draw this, I will put my ruler on the dot, draw a line to the edge of the paper, move it over, put my ruler on the dot, draw the line to the edge of the paper. Now you want to make these different sizes. So maybe some of them have a width that's medium or small, or maybe a little bit larger. You don't want to make any two spaces that big though, because it becomes a problem when you're trying to make your buildings. If you need to add more lines later, you can do that. It's kind of tough, a little bit tougher in my opinion, to take them out, but it's up to you. If you're not sure after you're done, if you have too many lines or if it's okay, you could ask me or whoever is in the classroom and see if that is okay with your project. Sometimes you have to test things out. You may not know right away if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. This one I did right here, that's pretty big. That may not work in the end, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to draw to the edge of the paper, making sure that some are wider than others, some are small. Different sizes. These are going to be your buildings. So that's why we're making them different sizes. Again, making sure that you're doing this very lightly. You can pause the video at any time to slow down. Alrighty, so now that I have all of it completed, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the tops of my buildings. And I'm going to make the tops of my buildings by taking the ruler and making a straight line across. So if I make a straight line across like this, this is going to be the top of the building. Now, I don't want my buildings to all be the same height. So if I put a line here, when I do the next one, I want to make it shorter or taller. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to keep kind of moving my ruler. I'm going to make this one a little shorter. You don't want to make your lines too close to the vanishing point, because what happens is then you don't have any room for a sky, and it's the fun part, in my opinion, to make the sky creative. The other thing you want to do is you want to be able to make a side to a building. So on mine, mine is a little too big, but I'm going to just show you anyway. To make the side of a building, I'm going to have to angle down my line. So I'm going to find, let's say this line, and I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect this left side, and I'm going to slant it downward. So right there, I created the side to a building. I'd like you on one of your buildings to try to make a side to a building. You don't have to do it on every one, but on one of them, try to make a side. So I'm going to turn this again, and I'm either going to make my building taller or shorter. So maybe I'll make this one a little bit taller. Certain buildings don't work as well. So for instance, if I was going to make a side to this building, I could, but if I angled it really, really far down, it might look odd. So I've got that side of a building, but now when I turn it, it's like this one's going to be super tall and it doesn't look quite right. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And I'm not going to make a side to this building. So you kind of have to use your own judgment to say, you know what, this looks good or this does not look right. You need to have all of your buildings together. So there shouldn't be any spaces in between the buildings. It should all be like solid buildings around. So I decided to put a side to that building. You can put as many sides to the building as you want. It's just, I want you to have at least one side to a building on this project just for the experience. I'm doing a bunch of them just because I feel like it. All right, so I'm going to do this all the way around. And again, I'm putting sides on my buildings. You only have to do one, so don't freak out. I'll do a couple that don't have sides so that you're not thinking that you have to do it on all. Okay, so you're going to do this all the way around. Again, pause the video so you can do it, and then you can hit play again. So I'm going to go ahead and finish. You could also speed the video up if I was taking too long, which is possible. Okay, so once I'm done, okay, I should have all of my buildings. There shouldn't be any spaces in between. This is where you're going to take the big eraser. And what you're going to do is you're going to start at the dot and you're going to follow the line and erase it to the top of the building. So you're not erasing the top of the building. You're starting at the dot, following the line, and when it gets to the roof, you're stopping. So I'm going to do that, following the line, stop at the roof, follow the line, stop at the roof. I'm going to do that on every single one. And that will be the last step of this video. This is where I told you you want to do this lightly. And the reason being, again, is because you are going to have to do this erasing. If you press down too dark and you wanted to do some sort of light pattern or design in your sky, then this is where, unfortunately, it's going to show through. I want you to keep your vanishing point because you're going to have to keep your vanishing point when you are working with the windows on the buildings. So I am going to keep the dot. If you accidentally erase it, just mark it back again. Careful not to rip your paper when you're doing this, especially if you are using copy paper. I prefer that you use my thicker 9x12 80-pound paper, which is just a thicker paper. But obviously, if you're at home, you're going to be using copy paper or even the back of a piece of mail that you got if you don't have any. So basically, whatever you can find in this situation, but heavier paper is better. All right, if you have questions, you can ask me or replay the video.